What's up, YouTube? So, I wanted to start this new series. Well, it's probably best to call it an anthology called MasterMind Review. And in this particular part of the anthology, we're going to name this TikTok Theology, where I'm going to be choosing some clips from TikTok of some preachers, what's popular, and then I'm just going to kind of share my thoughts on it. So let's just go ahead and dive in without further ado. Before we do that, real quick, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, like, share, engage, comment, because of course I read those and respond on most occasions. And of course, consider joining our Patreon and consider becoming a YouTube member. And we also have merch. All right, so let's jump into this. Today we have Jamal Bryant. He's currently the pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. That was the church that Bishop Eddie L. Long was once the senior pastor of before he succumbed to disease and died. Um, Jamal is an American minister, author, and former political candidate. I did not know that part. I told you where he's the pastor of. He's a graduate of both Morehouse and Duke. He received his doctorate of ministry degree from the Graduate Theological Foundation. So let's jump in here and see what the good word is. Let's see what's going on in the world of TikTok theology.
Do you know how many people are jealous of you? And they got no idea that the gift you have, you never prayed for. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. The gift that you hold, you never asked God to give it to you. And you got folk that are fighting you, and they don't know, I don't even want this.
Okay, I want to stop right there. Um, mm. So one of the things I've realized since coming out of the church is that much of black preaching and much of preaching in just that urban context period is built around this trauma bond and built around this idea that everybody's attacking you. And we'll see a lot of that. But there's this other thing that's kind of it doesn't seem concerning at first, but once you've spent a lot of time with the people who take these words to heart and start to live by them, and this becomes a part of their psychology, you realize that this might not be that healthy. And I want you to hear what he's saying here. He's saying that gift that you have, you don't even want it. You know, that thing that you do so well, you don't even want it. Like, and I don't know if you understand the amount of dissonance it takes to accept that as a reality. Because what you're trying to do in this sense as a preacher is make it seem as though that other people are jealous of you and they don't really know your struggle, and that could be a valid thing, but I think in because church is filled with so much pseudo intelligence that there's no one to catch the fact that the struggles shouldn't be something that you identify with negatively. Like the struggle for Kobe Bryant and LeBron James is practicing more than other people. You know, that's the struggle. But in this case, you're identifying the struggle with I don't even want it. And it's just like, yikes, who becomes great at something that they didn't want to become great at? And this creates a great amount of dissonance because then you have some truly talented people who hear this and feel almost persuaded or compelled not to put much skill into what they do in order to live out alignment with the message, because then it's almost like you begin to think that this is an appropriate way to approach life, that I shouldn't know, like and there's the other part, I'm accidentally good, right? And this is very damaging because then this person coaches themselves into no longer realizing or acknowledging their own contribution and their own effort to the skills they've developed, to the gifts they've developed, and the talents that they've developed. So they're now disconnected from the process, thinking that their talent or that their gift is somehow accidental. that I'm just accidentally gifted. And that's not healthy. So I did want to pause and interject there. All right, let's continue.
God done put it on my life. All I can do is flow in my gift. You know you're authentically anointed when people who got more than you don't like you. And you're trying to figure out why you attacking me when I ain't got nothing.
There's that
I
paranoia.
hope y'all tap this church. God said, if they hate you at this level, what they gonna do when I elevate you to a whole nother place? This is
Okay, so let's talk about this. If they hate you at this level, what are they gonna do when I put you at a whole nother other place? Now, again, these are things that sound, they sound beautiful, but they shouldn't sound beautiful. This is incredibly unhealthy because now your attachment, and just by the way, this isn't necessarily, which there are some scriptures that you can attach to this, but this isn't necessarily coming from theology as we'd understand it academically. This is coming from popular theology. And this is just imposing our own narratives, even on the text and on the belief system itself. But then your whole motivation in life becomes, I'm doing this so that they'll see me differently. You know what I'm saying? If y'all hate me now, watch this. If y'all hate me now, oh, y'all gonna really hate me. Like, okay, when have you ever heard somebody say that and think that, oh yeah, this is a healthy person who's saying this right now? Like that's not a healthy motivation in life. And this is why you find a lot of broken dreams in churches. You find a lot of broken dreams in churches because there is a lot of unhealthy advice coming across from the pulpit. And then this whole segment is just kind of steeped in paranoia. That's why people who have more than you don't even like you because you are authentically anointed. And so it's not even encouraging you to actually figure out whether, it's encouraging you to assume that people don't like you, which again is just not a healthy way to approach life. Just because someone doesn't like your idea, just because someone rejects something about that you do, just because somebody calls you out on something, or just because somebody doesn't want to work with you, doesn't mean they don't like you. It doesn't mean that you're not gifted. This is literally just how things work. But church and this popular, we're going to call it TikTok theology, has a way of taking the most mundane everyday things and making them larger than life. And it seems very attractive, but at the end of the day, it just encourages people to attach themselves to very childish mechanisms, as far as in their approach to life. So instead of even trying to figure out, what can I do to do better, it immediately comes, they just don't like me because I'm anointed, and that's not a healthy way. I think a little bit. I'll back it up a little bit so we can catch this ending, and then we'll wrap it up.
not the place. This is just the beginning.
All right. So we made it through the whole clip. I can stop sharing my screen now. We made it through the whole clip, and wow, that was it was not atypical, at least from a lot of the stuff that I'm used to in the church. And as we go through this series, we'll see how much of a deviation that we'll find. I'll pull a few more from Jamal. And mind you, these things are not necessarily shared by Jamal himself. These are shared by different people who've just clipped his sermons and wanted to share them, because they found them very encouraging. And that's typically what we think is happening here. We think that we're finding encouragement, but I think if we were finding encouragement, then we wouldn't find ourselves always needing encouragement. And I think the reason why we do find ourselves constantly needing encouragement is because a lot of the theology that's coming across these pulpits is actually very harmful, psychologically and sociologically. And a lot of times this stuff hides under the banner of not being extreme. So because this is no one preaching against gay people, or no one preaching against abortion, or no one preaching, against whatever, is whatever. This just seems like, oh yeah, it's everyday sermon, and this is an everyday sermon, and I want you to actually begin to critically engage what happens to people if they really begin to believe that everybody around them is hating them because they're anointed, or if they're believing that whatever they're good at, it's an accident, or it's just God made them good at it. They didn't have to work at being good at it, and that this is a frightening thing. As a matter of fact, I have just, man, a caravan of amazingly talented friends who just believe that God gave them their talent, because they are so disconnected from realizing that, oh man, the many times that I was mimicking other people singing, that was actually work, or the many times that I was actually practicing with other people, that was actually work. And in their mind, this is just some deposit that God has made into my life, and as long as I please God, then things will get better. And so they're completely connected from the idea of work, productivity, and progress. And so, unfortunately, even though they're incredibly talented, many times they're not able to move their life forward. Such was I. I was the same way. And I'm not saying that everybody who has an approach with Christian theology that happens to, but I am saying there's enough people that happens to. And many of you probably can think of some of those people now, that is enough reason for us to stop, think about it, right? So I'll be doing this with a few more clips as we go along. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. Tell me what you thought about this in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, engage, join Patreon, join YouTube membership, check out the merch, all that good stuff. And man, until next time, keep rising, stay progressive, and stay beautiful. I'll let y'all.